Alright, back to this. If I remember correctly, I left off, I was talking about the roaming soldier coming up through this valley, which is what this area is called, in case you didn't see the vocab video that I did. Please do watch it if you get a chance. I'd like to see views and whatnot on this Community Fortress YouTube channel. Anyway, sometimes you will see what is called the Valley Rush. While I'm over here, I'm going to talk about that. The Valley Rush is essentially where instead of your soldiers rocket jumping up to this diagonal bridge and coming across and doing their business like the usual way, you sometimes also see them come out through the valley here and then rocket jump up onto the bridge. The reason why you would do this is essentially for the surprise factor. It's unconventional. You don't see this as often, which is another good thing. The main reason why I guess you could do this would be for surprise, but the immediate benefits of doing this is that by rocket jumping up here, you might lose a little bit of damage, assuming that you're not buffed, but you should be if your medic's following you into the valley, which I hope is what happens, assuming you have good communication anyway. But you see the Valley Rush happen where the soldiers will rocket jump onto here. They'll typically do it coming up to about here, and then rocket jump up like this. When you do this, you as a soldier, you're much closer, obviously, to the action, so it's a lot more. The chances that the medic will be killed is a lot higher if you're all in their face about it, because their medic by default will go back here, if he knows what he's doing, of course. But if they're stuck in the house for whatever reason, it's just easy pickings no matter what the situation is. But other times when you do this is not really a Valley Rush, but I see this happen as well. It's kind of like the Valley Rush. It's essentially the same thing, but you stay on the bridge with your combo and whatnot, and your soldiers come out here and blam, rocket jump, land about ideally on the train cart, like I said for the roaming soldier earlier, or they just land on the point itself, and then it's just, you know, deathmatch, because that's all the mid-fight reduces to, just deathmatch. It's just a matter of how you approach the deathmatch which is what I'm talking about. But yes, okay, I talk about Demo Man, medic, obviously heal everybody. As what the Jaeger video said about the medic on Badlands coming out, let me get to that angle or whatever he was on. It was like this or something like that. You want to get your Demo Man first, because he's going to get, this is loud volume, I apologize, this is loud volume. I remember what happened in the turbine video. I didn't realize that it was loud volume, but you want to get your Demo Man first because he will get out of your medic healing range first. So you want to like bless him as much as you can, because he's gonna just basically, excuse me for the bump there, he's just gonna beat your entire team all the way to the point. So you want to give him as much of your blessings, your healings, as you can before he just gets the hell out of your sight. After that, you want to give it to your soldiers. Now, something that the Jaeger video did not mention is, in the opening run, if you overheal your scouts while you're still in the spawning place, that overheal is going to wear out by the time that they get to the middle bridge. So there's no real point in giving a buff to your scouts in the opening moments. If you are going to give a buff to your scouts, it would be when you are coming onto the diagonal bridge, because that's when it would actually be more worthwhile. They'd probably have like a 10 health buff or whatever, but even then, the odds that your scouts are going to be slow and stupid enough to like sit around on the diagonal bridge and wait for you is not very good, because if they do that, then your Demo Man will be all alone. He has to go into the midpoint to this area, and the enemy scouts are going to be there to meet him, and he's just going to get wiped out, and meanwhile your scouts are sitting there waiting for you to give them the overheal. It's not a good idea to do that, is what I'm trying to say. But yes, so give it to your Demo Man, then your soldiers, your roamer first, then your pocket, because your roamer is going to be out of your sight by the time you get to the middle point, so you want to give your roamer as big of an overheal as possible, and then when the actual battle goes on, you want to give it to your soldier to stick on him throughout the fight, basically. But this is basically a medic class now, I apologize. But yes, back to this. I suppose what I've talked about is pretty much everything that there is to talk about. Your medic obviously dances around here if he knows what he's doing, Demo Man, roamer, pocket ideally, and then your scouts will come back here for heals if they need it. Right, that's essentially that. I think that let's talk about attacking and defending. Well, the mid-fight is essentially attacking the point, so I'll talk about defending the point. Let's assume that you take it, and the other side has been pushed back either through the house or down here through the choke. Now, if you lose the mid-fight, where the area I'm at right now, this yard right here, is pretty much your fallback point. This is where you go when you've lost the mid-fight, pretty much, because you want to defend the spire, but you also want to be in a position to push into the midpoint on the off chance that you can get like 1 or 2 more picks to turn it into your favor. But this is where you want to go by default after you lose the midpoint. So when you take the midpoint, essentially you're going to form up right here. If enough of the other team is alive to prevent you from just going through the choke point, then do so. Excuse me. If enough of the I tripped over my words there. If you kill enough of the team that you can just like walk through, then do it. But if that does not happen, then you want to essentially be putting pressure right here. Most definitely, the demo man will put sticky bombs right here, and then maybe like 1 or 2 up here or something like that. So because of that, as by default is what I'm trying to say, you want to always turn this corner wide. Go like this right here. If you're a soldier, you want to walk along this path right here, rocket jump up to here, which is a common thing that you see roamers do, scouts as well. Demo men typically put a sticky bomb right here, and they can usually like make it to about here-ish, if I recall correctly. I'm not a demo man, so that probably wasn't exact, but that's essentially what you see happen. The pocket will typically come down into the yard through here. I'm getting into the wrong video. This is supposed to be for the second thing. But when you're defending the middle point, you want to have your pocket sitting here watching this thing. You want your roamer keeping an eye on this, but watching this as well. Your scouts are essentially looking for an opportunity to flank, which means that they're going to go through the house right here, try to come out here, take a look through here, or just come in through the opposed valley, which is the red valley, because we're assuming that we're on blue team in this whole scenario, so that they can try to come in from behind or get a flank or something like that. And that's essentially what defending the midpoint is like. Very rarely will you see a defending team try to push in. The only times that you will probably ever see that happen is when perhaps the opposing scouts or roaming soldier or demo man get like at least 1 or 2 picks on your team, which means that you're down 1 or 2 people, in which case you're gonna pretty much be on the defensive anyway, so they're gonna try to capitalize on that advantage. But the further back you push them, like if you're on the last point, almost definitely you're not going to see them push out. If they do push out, it's because they're really convinced that they can do something, or because they don't know any better. But yes, if you're on the defensive side, you don't want to push in, you don't want to push outward unless there's like 2 or 3 people alive. But even when you do push out and you're on the defensive side, you always want to have somebody watching the point that you're supposed to be defending. You want to have at least one person. Typically, when my team does it, we leave a scout. You could also leave a demo man if you wanted to. But if you're pushing out of the last point, you want to leave a demo man there. If you're pushing out of the spire, you want to leave a scout looking at it or something like that. But after the attack, if you're on the defensive side, after the attack goes in and you notice that, okay, this like everybody's accounted for on the defensive side right here, we can just, you know, whoever's in the back can come forward, you can do that as well. So I'm at the 8-minute mark again. I'm going to move on to the second point because the conversation's going there anyway, so I'm just going to do that now. So yes, moving on.